Brexit is just a few months old. London is currently obsessed with its UK-only regime. But the pandemic has left it with very little options for muscle flexing. So the UK has decided to show off its independence from the European Union by slapping sanctions. On the hit list are 49 individuals and organizations accused of human rights abuses. The names are big, and the UK's claims even bigger. But the sanctions are useless and make for a classic case of London's hypocrisy.
The United Kingdom has forgotten its colonial past. It suddenly wants to lecture the world on human rights. London has sanctioned 49 individuals and organizations for human rights abuses. There are 25 Russian nationals involved in the death of Russian lawyer Sergei Magnitsky, 20 Saudis involved in the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, 2 high-ranking generals implicated in the crimes against the Rohingyas in Myanmar, and 2 North Korean organizations accused of forced labor. All of them are barred from entering the UK, channeling money through the country's banks, and doing business in the country.
We don't want people responsible for these appalling crimes with blood on their hands coming to this country, doing their Christmas shopping in Knightsbridge or the King's Road, or trying to invest in British banks or British property.
Dominic Raab was once a human rights lawyer. It is appalling then that the foreign minister has conveniently forgotten to include China to his list. Does the UK not consider Uyghurs as humans, or would it rather not take on a trade partner? Here is the truth. At the center of the UK's sanctions is hypocrisy, not human rights. China is a textbook example of human rights abuse, but CCP officials have been overlooked because of the business they bring. In 2018, China was the UK's 6th largest export market, the 4th largest source of imports. What's more, there is a trade deficit of £22.1 billion in favour of London. It's not just trade partners. Britain's allies like Israel and Bahrain also do not feature on the list. Boris Johnson and co are boasting of taking on Saudi officials like Saud al-Qahtani, former advisor of the Saudi Crown Prince. He's been sanctioned. But guess what? He is bidding to buy the British football team Newcastle United. So what happens to not profiteering from the UK? Also, why is Mohammed bin Salman not on the list? London's sanctions are not only hypocritic but also useless. And a bit rich. How does the UK get the moral high ground on human rights abuse? It is resuming arms sales to Saudi Arabia. The weapons will obviously be used against civilians in Yemen. So if the United Kingdom is so desperate to punish human rights abuse, it should sanction itself first. Did we say the sanctions are useless? They serve no purpose. Most of these individuals are already blacklisted by the US, which means they are already effectively banned from British banks through secondary sanction. Plus, human rights cannot be upheld by imposing sanctions on people or countries where the UK's presence and economic privilege is not welcome. This is a classic trick from Washington's playbook. But unlike America, the UK is not really in a position to attract counter-sanctions. Its economy has plummeted 2.2% in 2020, the sharpest decline in 41 years. So here's what Boris Johnson can do instead. Quit the sanctions game and focus on rebuilding his country. Bureau Report, WION World is One.